Greetings, greetings. This is Beer Guys Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. We always appreciate it. Such a good time hanging out with everybody, having a drink, having some conversations. We got some hot news this week. It's been eventful, so we'll see what happens. But with that said, y'all, we are going to jump into the show here. If you have something to share with us, let us know what you're drinking. Let us know what you think about the stories that we are covering, or if you have some info, we always appreciate you chiming in. But with that said, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for hanging out with us for some craft beer and conversations. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt. How's it going today?
It's going. It's been a draining day, but a good day. So
draining, but good. Those happen. Yeah. That's not too bad. Like, I don't mind feeling exhausted at the end of a good day. It's much better than feeling exhausted at the end of a terrible day. So it feels different. It just hits different, Brian.
It does. It hits different.
It does.
My efforts were great, but they went to a good cause, and I was successful ultimately in that cause. So I'm happy with that. Yeah,
good stuff, man. Nate, how about you, man? How you doing today?
Pollen count is very high today, so
it is.
I'm a little out of it right now. I took some allergy medication earlier, and I'm just happy to be here talking beer with you boys.
Good stuff, man. I saw someone mention there were 2 tree pollens today in Atlanta that were extremely high, and I can feel it in my throat a little bit. Like, I don't feel too bad, but I'm a little scratchy. So y'all forgive us this week if we got a little scratch. I don't know. I don't think other places, I'm sure there are some other places, but most other places do not get hammered the way Atlanta area does with pollen. And I've lived a lot of other places, and I don't remember it getting quite as serious and heavy as it does here.
The first time I ever saw the image of like the tree shaking with a cloud of yellow pollen coming off of it, was after I was here, but I saw that after seeing it settle, like cars being coated yellow.
Yeah,
I'm from the Northwest originally. I've never seen or heard of that kind of thing. I'm like, that's insane. It's crazy down here in terms of pollen. It is insane down here.
I went on vacation one spring and took one of my cars, had the other one in the driveway, and when I came back, I mean, you honestly couldn't see my vehicle, and I had the vehicle was I think it was black, either black or dark green or something like that, but it was covered with the greenish yellow pollen, just absolutely like it had been abandoned. You ever seen those shows where they find a car in a garage that, my dad parked this back in '87 and it's been here since then? They could have done that. They could have done that with mine. So.
I did have a car that my parents held on to me for a while and parked under a pine tree, so I know what you're talking about. But it was pretty gross.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, guys.
Tim, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm doing fine. Yeah, that's my day was crazy, but not bad. I didn't have as good a day as Brian, but I'll say it was a decent day, and I'm here. So we're rocking on. I'm in a good place. Nate. So yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we had some fun. Something we haven't done in a while. We got together and bottle shared this past weekend. So we had fairly decent weather, and we did a sour share. And I think that's another thing, that not just bottle sharing, but man, you don't have the sours like you did. What are we looking at? 10 years ago now? 7, 8 at least, since the sour boom there. And
probably, yeah.
Yeah, we broke out some good ones. We had Cantillon, we had Dry Fontaine, we had some Allagash. I think we had one, Nate, that you brought back from Alchemist, one of their sours. And
Wild Child, the strawberry.
Yeah, that was a really tasty one.
Just some really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. We fired up the grill, burgers and dogs on the grill. We played some cards. It was we sniffed some perfumes. Since Brian and I were there, we broke out about 60 different samples of perfumes to go along with everything else. So I think we had a pretty full day. We had quite a bit of stuff covered there. So.
It was a feast for all of the senses. Mostly
you
mouth
go.
and nose, but all of it, really.
Yeah. Oh, we had cigars. I forgot about.
We
even
did.
broke out
Yes, we
cigars,
also
which
did
is
cigars, too.
something else we haven't done in a while. But all in all, a good time, man. It was nice to get together. Been a while since we've done that. So, my favorite beer of the share was the Dry Font. And I think that when it's in the mix, it's pretty tough to beat that for me because I just really love their profile, their DNA, so to speak. Nate, how about you? What was your favorite one we cracked open this week?
It's really tough to say, but I think for me, I would have to hone in on that Alchemist, that Wild Child with the strawberry.
Okay.
Strawberry came through really nice, and it created like a nice dark, like pinkish reddish hue to the beer itself, and so that was just really tasty.
Can't argue with that, man. Can't argue with that. Brian, how about you, man? What was your favorite?
I'm gonna say it was the Cantillon because it's the first bottle I ever bought, and like I
Okay.
actually bought, owned, and then brought to a bottle share. I've had Cantillon a number of times, but it's always been something that I either bought at a bar or somebody else poured. But the one that was really the most exciting is when I was looking for bottles to bring. I didn't hold back. Like if I saw something cool that was spontaneous, wild, whatever, mixed culture, that sort of thing, I just grabbed it. Usually I would. Back in the day, I would hold some back for the next bottle share. I have no idea when the next bottle share is happening, but the one that was the most exciting for me was opening the Degard brewing. It's called Fail. It was a like I guess a wild lager, and somehow this thing is like 10 years old, or maybe like 8 years old. Somehow it actually held up extremely well, drank really well, and it was about 5%. I'm like, man, the power of sour beers and their longevity is no way as a just a regular lager that would have been any good, but it was fantastic, and I was very impressed by that, and I was actually surprised to see that I still had it because it was a bottle I'd completely forgotten I ever owned. So yeah,
I feel like I left the party a little before the festivities ended. I'm a little earlier out than the rest of these guys, but I don't think I was there for that one. I think the Degard must have got cracked after I
Yep.
left.
I think
so
it's
that's too
I think
bad.
it may
That's too
have.
bad.
Yeah.
Brian, what was I can't believe I'm forgetting their name right now, but the sour place out of Portland that
Cascade.
Cascade. So I gotta say the aging on those was disappointing because nearly all of them just lost almost tasted like you just had a bottle of fingernail polish remover after about a
or
year.
battery acid
And,
too.
I don't know if it was, exactly what it was, but we had a place here when we first got them in Georgia. They were what, 30-ish bucks a bottle, I think.
Yeah,
25, 30. And some place got rid of some stock and they were like half price or like $7. I think we bought 2 or 3 cases. Like we cleared out what they had because we were excited to have these nice sours, and we dug into them a couple times, and after about a year, every single one was just the fruit had been eaten up. They just did not, and which was sad because they were really good.
Bracingly sour, and I actually was going to bring one, but I ran out of space. I'm like, I actually have a few of those left. What I will tell you is those are great for if the beer hasn't gone really badly off, and I've got a variety of them. They're really good for like a mulled wild ale. Like if
add some
honey,
sweetness back, put some spices in there, and stuff.
heat it up.
Yeah.
It just I meant to do that. I've meant to do that the past couple of like winters, and I guess I'm not technically out of time, but the weather outside's telling me winter's basically
Better get
over,
it fast, man.
Maybe I'll crack one open and still mull one just for the heck of it. But,
yeah. That's like Bourbonic Plague there from Cascade. That was phenomenal.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Just
Vlad
enjoying
the
it.
Impaler, I think.
Impaler,
was the next one.
yeah. And I remember Allagash, their Tierna. I probably still have 3 or 4 of those because that was one I loved, and I'm like, I'm going to get these while I can. So I probably still have a few of those in the cellar somewhere. I'll have to see.
Bring those around because I did end up opening mine. Unfortunately, it was completely flat.
Oh,
still.
no. Okay.
So it was that the Mike Nate, was that the one we put in your CO2 thing?
No, I don't think that was it, was it?
No, that was an earlier one. It might have been the Leopold from Westbrook.
I think it
was a Leopold.
Yeah.
We turned it into we basically turned it into
put it in a whipped
pour.
cream charger. Basically.
Yes,
put
that's what it was.
A CO2 charged whipped cream maker, and it was not super effective, but it was. You know what? Ingenuity does not always come with 100% success rate there.
So. Yeah, it didn't recover it completely, but I think it in the end say of things, adding it to the whipped cream charger thing did improve it a little bit, made it a little easier drinking or a little better drinking.
if you guys ever fast charged a keg, like with home brewing, where you plug it
Oh,
in
yeah.
and you rock it back and forth, I think maybe if you'd taken, a good 20 minutes or so to rock the charger back and forth, it may have actually taken on a little more of the carbonation there. But I think we just we blew foam. Like you said, Brian, we kind of got milk pours out of it. So
It was
it was better than it was straight out of the bottle, but it did not accomplish miracles there.
Yeah.
We should have roared it. That was the thing, in hindsight, we should have roared that beer.
We should have done the Milko pour, wait for it to start to, turn back into actual beer, and then roared it to see what happens.
There we go.
Double
Everything.
it down. Yeah.
Double it up. Well, moving on to the beers we're drinking now, Brian, what are your beers of the week?
So I pre-gamed with Victory Brewing's Prima Pils, which is a German Pilsner made with Czech Noble hops and German malt. So good beer. It's not going to take my heart away from Bitburger, but it's a quality beer, and I like it because it's one of the beers that Jason Pellet and I used to talk about back in the day when he was around. He loved that beer, so he's around. He's just not around in the U.S. He's over doing the hollows. And
Jason will be here for Little Beer Fest that's coming up.
Oh, really?
I did see that. So that you guys have probably heard us talk about that before, but Little Beer Fest that Good Word Brewing puts on, they do small beers, just like it says, lower ABV beers. And I just happened to see some chatter online today that it sounds like Jason Pellet, who, what's his new brewery's name? The Hollows?
The Hollows, yeah.
Yeah. So he was had Orpheus Brewing here in Atlanta, then moved to the Netherlands and opened up the Hollows there. But he'll be over here then.
Anyway, every time I see that beer, I pick it up and I think about us talking about it because we both like that beer. Right now, I'm working on Scofflaw Brewing's F Cancer. That's anyway, expletive deleted, I think is the phrase for that. But I got that from Mo Mike Nate, I think. And I don't remember where he got it from, but a hazy American IPA. What's that? Probably
Scofflaw. Yeah.
It's basically loaded down with Citra and Azaka, and all the proceeds, or some amount of the proceeds, support the Blood Cancer United organization. So it's a beer for a good cause. So I'm gonna drink these kind of things, and afterwards, after the show, probably with the Patreon folks, post game, I'm gonna do Parish Brewing's Infinite Ghost. Yeah, if there's another Ghost variant coming out, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna drink it. And this is a New England double IPA. It's basically Ghost in the Machine, super saturated with Citra hops and Citra terpenes, which you don't hear people talking about terpenes that often anymore. And I've actually had this one before, and it's great, and I'm looking forward to drinking it again. So that is what I am drinking, Tim.
Superb, man. Superb. And Nate, you're on a White Stripe week here. So for those that are just dropping in, Nate is doing a week on, week off to be responsible with his drinking. The government told us to drink less this year, so that's what Nate's
left it ambiguous.
Yeah. And so he's on a white week. Did we decide White Stripe weeks or no alcohol? We decided to go with Red Stripe for the alcoholic weeks, right? Or was it black?
Oh, you went red and white. I was thinking black and white.
White and black
is
a zebra stripe.
That. Just so we know what, just so we stick to what we made up to go going forward. So White Stripe week. What you sipping on, Nate?
Yeah, so I had to run into my local Whole Foods store yesterday and saw some hop water on the shelf, and I hadn't had it in a while. So I've got their grapefruit flavor, and this is hop water. So it's got Citra, Amarillo, Mosaic, and Azaka hops in it. And, hop water is a little polarizing, but I actually like it a lot. So this is something that I do enjoy having, and it's a good alternative to beer without a lot of the heaviness.
Brian and I visited a brewery recently, and we won't put anybody's name on blast here, but their hop water was their best offering at the time. So we tried a few beers in that, and that's as folks probably know if you listen to the show a while, beer unfortunately doesn't agree with me like it used to. So I do not drink as much as I used to. So after sampling a couple of the beers, I got a hop water to sit down and have a drink, and I'm like, it's actually pretty solid. So, sometimes that happens. I have nothing against hop water. It was tasty stuff.
Yeah.
Brian, I think you had something you were going to say there.
Oh, you know what? I for a second, I forgot it, but I was going to ask Mo Mike Nate, when you were there at Whole Foods, you stopped by there. I saw somebody talking about this. Did you see non-alcoholic Guinness? Because apparently people are complaining about it like having disappeared recently in the U.S. market.
I wasn't looking for it, but I don't recall seeing it.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
And now it's just an isolated thing. Somebody said, "Man, I'm not seeing it anywhere." I'm like, "Is there a run on non-alcoholic Guinness? I don't know what's
I
going
will
on."
say when I went to go try and buy it for the 60/40, I must have gone to like half a dozen stores before I finally found it. And this was
Really?
about a month ago. So yeah.
I happen to have a contact at Guinness PR. I'll see if I can find out if they've limited distribution here. I'll see if I can get some scoop on this.
And it could be just selling really fast.
It
And they're
could be.
not keeping
Yeah,
up
that's
with,
what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking there. So, yeah, we got Dave chiming in here talking about hop water versus NA beer. And Dave he said he'd prefer a hop water to the NA beer. So, and talking about the Stone collaboration. I remember that. I forget who it was, but I remember the bottles on those and seeing those. So, yeah. To each their own. If you like it, drink it. If you don't. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Guys, moving on with our headlines. I tell you, this brewery, Brian, Nate, I'm sick of talking about them, but they keep having stuff happening, so they keep making it into our news. I feel like
which one?
I feel like that they actually two in this one.
Yes,
right?
there's two in this one.
So,
yes.
I feel like one of these folks needs to give us some money. One of these folks needs to sponsor us because I don't know. We don't always say kind things about them. So. But anyhow, we talked about Tilray last week and how they struck a deal with Carlsberg to brew and distribute their beer in the U.S. And we extended some kindness to Tilray for that move because we thought it would be good for keeping people working at the breweries they owned and using up capacity. Well, Tilray bought BrewDog on the cheap, no doubt. So the deal that came out sounds like they really got them for pennies on the dollar. And as you might expect, there's a whole lot happening because of this deal.
Yeah, we were speculating a week or two ago in one of the previous shows, and I don't know did we float the idea of possibly Tilray being a buyer for BrewDog? I know it ran through my head, but I didn't know that it was like very likely, so I didn't say anything.
I don't recall. I know that it did not cross my mind, and I just never thought that Tilray would be in the mix for that. Maybe I should have.
Yeah, I definitely didn't say anything. I thought the reason I didn't say anything is I was thinking, no, it's not very likely. I really thought this was going to be a play like for the people coming in the U.S. market. Turns out the other way around. But yeah, so what's happening with BrewDog? Tilray's buying them, and they're getting a fire sale price of 33 million pounds, or about $44 million for BrewDog. That's million, not billion. 44 million, not 440. $44 million for BrewDog. Just making sure people get that, which is a significant drop from the previous valuation of about 2 billion pounds, or about 2.7 billion US dollars. That I guess that was their high water valuation. It's a staggering, unbelievable 98% drop in valuation, which is insane. To put it in scale here, the Equity for Punks program, the people buying into BrewDog, they raised over $100 million US, and that means they could have bought BrewDog outright twice for what they paid some number of years ago. Insane. Anyway, the deal gets Tilray, the BrewDog brand, the intellectual property, the Ellen Brewery in Scotland. I think I'm saying
Elon?
that right.
I feel like maybe
maybe it's Elon.
Could be
I
wrong.
Don't know. And 11 pubs. So that's the UK and Ireland part of the deal, and that's now closed. Did you have your hand up, Tim?
I did, Brian, but I think you may be about to get to it, so I'm just going to be quiet.
Okay, yeah. So that's the UK and the Ireland part of the deal, which is now closed. But the US and Australian business units are being negotiated separately. It is expected that Tilray will also close on those within 30 days. There are no details about what might happen there in terms of price and things like that, but the Tilray CEO commented that BrewDog's U.S. business is about $20 million, and it's not clear exactly what that means, if that's worth or what the amount of sales that they're making every year, but that's what he said. In the U.S., there are 6 tap rooms, a beer hall, and a hotel, which we famously talked about. There's also like a franchise-owned location, which I don't know would ever be part of the deal, but there's no comments about the Australian part, but it is considerably smaller, and I think that the CEO of Tilray was a little dismissive about what that was about, so I have no idea if they're buying that too or not. And speaking of the Equity for Punks investors, as we expected, as it's been teased, they're not going to see a penny as part of this deal. Though it was reported by BBC that Tilray planned to continue key benefits for individual investors, including their bar and online discounts. So details about that are pending, but they say they'll contact investors as soon as possible. So their shares may not be worth anything at all other than giving them continued discounts, maybe the same as what they were getting or some portion of it. So they're not nothing, but they're not much. They're not worth much anymore. The administrators of this deal, Alex Partners, say the sales saved 733 jobs, but the headlines are all talking about the 484 jobs that were lost and 38 bars that were closed that were not included as part of the rescue deal. They say that there was significant interest in the company, but there were no offers that would have preserved BrewDog in its entirety. So nobody was going to buy it outright and maintain exactly the status quo. There are also 18 franchise-operated BrewDog bars in the UK, and I think across the globe. Those are unaffected. They will remain in business, so they're not going anywhere. As for Tilray,
are they part of the deal? Are they being purchased? They're just totally separate things.
I think the franchisees just continue operating the way they have, and they stay open. I don't think that they have to deal with Tilray because they're leasing or whatever the franchise from Tilray because Tilray's taking over. I think that's how that works.
Unless it's just a branding thing. I mean, unless they're just getting the name. So who knows? All right.
I'll bet there's some relationship. There has to be with Tilray, but. So as for Tilray, they say this acquisition accelerated their beverage strategy by years. I don't think they were expecting to do this. They expect the BrewDog acquisition to be cash flow positive. That's the phrase. Sometime in fiscal year 2027. So they're expecting to turn this around and make some money off of it, or at least not be like hemorrhaging money. And they already plan to use the extra BrewDog capacity to take brands like Shock Top, Sweetwater, Montauk, and 10 Barrel International. So those things will be brewed in the UK probably, or maybe Ireland. It also sounds like the BrewDog Ohio location may end up handling a lot of the beers for Carlsberg once that's acquired, because they're already talking about that possibly in to handle that capacity. So this is just Tilray's exploding. They're going to become AB InBev here in a second,
So I will just say this, that I'm only basing this off of what I've seen and heard. I won't claim to dive deep into the inner workings of the brewery business. We see what happens here. We see breweries closing. We kind of see market trends a little bit. But as far as a business expert, acquisitions expert, or anything like that, I most definitely am not. But we have seen what Tilray has done or haven't done with the breweries that they've acquired. I mean, we've seen, I don't know where their stock is right now, but I know it hasn't been doing anything. And this just seems like, we talked about it, Brian, that, BrewDog was struggling, but they were still like the number 3 or number 4 beer in the UK, I believe. So, I mean, that's still some good market presence, even if they aren't what they once were. I guess that's some good market presence, and maybe closing those bars and that. So I hope Tilray knows what they're doing. Now, let's remember that Tilray is heavily invested into marijuana, and it's possible they're all just stoned out of their gourds. I mean, their business actions kind of look that way. So, who knows what'll come of it. It doesn't sound like a great move to me, but let's see what they can do. And talking about cash flow positive, I mean, I guess if you get it for $44 million, I don't know what operating costs are there, but we'll see.
It's this kind of capacity that they got for brewing is they got it for just next to nothing.
I just don't get it, man.
I can't believe that BrewDog couldn't get a better offer than this. I think it must be the promise of this plus all of the U.S. and Australian stuff, and they couldn't get anybody to get close to doing all of that. So it's pretty wild, and I honestly, I can see this working for them. They may be buying themselves way out of an issue just by they now can put all of their stuff from the U.S. over there and that stuff from over there over here, and then do all the.
But is it a good time to do that? I mean, let's put it like this: we know the beer culture in Europe, and we know the story of what happened when Stone went to Germany and thought they were going to make waves there. Yeah. Who is going to give a damn about Shock Top in Europe? about Sweetwater in Europe, about Montauk in Europe. I mean, and it's no, you have a few people because they're import beers. Hey, these are American import beers and that, but it will be a novelty. I think. I just don't, maybe I will say this: the people that we have met from the UK at various beer events and things, and the people that we know that go to the UK, it's not like American beer has taken over the shelves there.
That's true. But you also have to keep in mind they cut a lot of the expense that was weighing down BrewDog. So even if they were only successful in producing BrewDog the way it has been, as like the number 3 or 4 or whatever it is in the UK, they've lost. Like they fired like the union, I think, that was involved in it. Like most of those people are gone. That's expensive. A lot of those pubs that weren't making a lot of money, that's expensive. They all of the debt that the company had, like all that's not getting paid back. I don't know what anybody's actually getting.
Yeah, I wonder how that works exactly. So
yeah, they're getting all of these assets, all this capacity, and the market that's buying the beer, and they've dropped all the debt. They've dropped all the expense, the overhead of like 484 people. Like they've dropped all that, so they've erased all of that, and now they're looking at we got all this stuff for next to nothing, and we bought basically this whole market. Like, but I don't see how they can't make money off of this.
Well, here's the thing: because in the UK, like all those bars, they were BrewDog owned. Like that was a revenue stream, and I have to assume a lot of their revenue was coming from those. So yeah, they shed a lot of expenses by getting rid of all of those bars, but they also probably closed down a lot of revenue points there too. So
that's possible, and I don't know if those were underperforming too. I'm like, because they kept some number of, what did I say, 11, 13, 18, something like that. 11 pubs. They kept 11 in big areas. They dropped ones, and I mean some of the areas I saw, like Leeds. I know that. I don't even know the UK. I've heard of Leeds. So like they dropped some places that were big areas, but they kept stuff in London, and they kept stuff in one in Dublin, and so they kept the really big areas that are likely to see a lot of foot traffic probably. So I think this was a smart thing for them. Give it considering, but
Alexa, remind me in 1 year to see how BrewDog is doing. 5 p.m.
Everybody will be. Everybody listening will be thanking you for that.
Yeah, there we go. So let's see. Let's check in 1 year and see if they how they did with their predictions. So interesting. I think it's fun to talk about and kind of see where it goes there, but. I don't know, man. Doesn't sound great to me, Brian. You say it sounds like you think there is some potential there. So, Nate, let's get the third input here. What are your thoughts on this?
I think Tilray getting BrewDog for such a steal, pennies on the dollar, good for Tilray. So, it's very punk of BrewDog to go out like this and not pay off their equity for Punk's investors. But hey, you get a discount at the tap room whenever you go in and get yourself a little pint. So I guess everybody's a winner. And
BrewDog finally showed us what punks they are. Finally.
Somebody in Beer Advocate had the best comment ever. Like, they were warned the definition of punk is to deceive or to trick. So boom, you bought into this.
You did.
This is how it plays out. You got punked.
You got me, BrewDog. I didn't see that one coming, man. Did not see that one coming. All right. Well, Brian, before we move on to our next story, which is a little more positive, how about we give a shout out to our good friends over at Truck and Tap?
Yeah. So inspired by our sour beer bottle share that we did this past weekend, I've decided my beer picks for the week will all be sour beers. Unfortunately, I don't see any Creeks or Lambics on tap at Truck and Tap right now. I have seen them in the past, some mixed fermentation stuff, some really cool stuff. Not this week, though. But there's no shortage of delightful fruited kettle sours to choose from, so I'm going with that. I don't think I've had any of these yet, so that makes this list just that much more appealing. So let's get into my beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Three Taverns La Madrina. It's a kettle sour that features blackcurrant, pink guava, and sea salt. I love guava in the right beer, and this does sound like it's the right beer, so definitely getting that. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Little Nap from Prairie Artisan, which is a sour made with blackberry and limes. But to make things even more interesting, it's also conditioned on oak spirals. It sounds intriguing. The word is this one packs quite the tart punch. And I've seen pictures, and it's a thick boy, too. It looks like it's got some viscosity to it. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Highwire's Push Up Orange Sherbet Sour. I've always been a fan of the orange creamsicle type of thing, so this one's a no-brainer. It is described as creamy with vanilla, zesty citrus, and mellow marshmallow notes. Yeah, I'm definitely getting that. That sounds great. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Pontoon's Crushing Waves. Crushing Waves seems to be a crowd favorite at Truck and Tap, judging by the number of times I've seen it on tap there. But I don't think I've ever included it in my beer picks, so that changes this week. Like the rest, it's a fruited kettle sour, but this one features fresh pineapple and tart cherries, and it sounds like a tropical island vacation in a glass. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying that one out. And there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and have a beer or two. And as always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at trucktap.com. The taps change quickly, so you never know what great new beer might go on and which of these might go off. And if you'd like to see what food trucks are serving and what events are happening, like your trivia, your karaoke, your live music, or your St. Patrick's Day party, which is happening next week, that's happening, you can also find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thanks, Truck and Tap. We love you. Good stuff, Brian. So moving along, some fun news out of Australia. We got a new hop variety, Brian. And as a hop fan yourself, I'm sure it's exciting to hear about new varieties coming out. But from the land down under, we have Luna.
Yes. Can you hear the thunder?
I can. Yes.
Yeah. A new Australian hop variety. Given how popular Australian hops are these days, that's big news. Or they're popular with me, so it's big news for me. I hope everybody else is excited about this. But Hop Products Australia, HPA, is how they're currently known, or frequently known. They're the largest hop grower in Australia, and they have announced the naming of Luna, a hop variety previously called HPA 033. But the naming is only a significant milestone in the long road trip for the hop to get to this point. The hop got its start back in 2003 when it was born as part of HPA's hop breeding program. So it's been over 20 years at this point. Fast forward 9 years to 2012, and Luna started making appearances in trial beers under the name HPA 033. And now, obviously, this year it's been given a name. The standout characteristic of this hop is its all-in-one combination of mango, berries, and citrus, which they say is uncommon to get all of these elements in a single hop. So it kind of does it all for you. Unlike the high intensity of hops like Eclipse and Vic's Secret, Luna is also prized for like a soft mouthfeel and a kind of a smooth palate, making it versatile for more than just IPAs. HPA's profile of the hop recommends it, for use in lager styles, in addition to various pale ales and IPA varieties. So it can do all of those things. Luna is a third-generation descendant of the U.S. hop Liberty and the iconic Australian bittering hop Pride of Ringwood. Have you guys ever heard of Pride of Ringwood hops?
Never.
Okay, good. It's not
iconic,
just me.
Though. It's iconic, apparently.
Yes, according to the
article, maybe local love, Brian. Maybe it's very popular there with the Australians.
Turns out, yes, that's exactly what it is. Apparently, it's used in a lot of iconic Australian beers like Victoria Bitter, which I'd like to drink again. That's kind of a legendary thing that I've always been on the lookout for. Carlton Draft, Foster's Lager, and Cooper's Pale Ale, which Cooper's we have seen here hit and miss. So you've had it, probably. You just may not remember having ever had it. So that's where you can find that. But Luna. Look for Luna. It's coming soon to a beer near you.
Good stuff. Now, Brian, we've got some legislative news here, beer bills. And you know what, real quick, this happened kind of quickly here as far as the news getting out, at least to my ears, and that. A little sidebar here. Here in Georgia, we had a bill go up this year. And something we've been trying to do for a few years now is to allow our breweries to sell more direct to the consumer at the brewery for some limited self-distribution. Two things that a lot of states really are allowed to do, because right now our breweries are limited to 288 ounces per person per day. So a case of 12-ounce cans there. So that's it. And we will definitely take a look and see what we can do to do that again in future years, but it just didn't go anywhere. And of course, limited self-distribution, for anyone kind of familiar with distribution and how it works, especially for small startup breweries, they have a difficult time getting a distributor a lot of times because they're just small potatoes and the distributor doesn't want to mess with them. But every beer sold outside of the brewery in Georgia has to have a distributor to get to where it needs to go. And this can give some ridiculous things like if a brewery wants to deliver a keg to a bar restaurant that is literally across the street from them, then if there's distributor, if this brewery is in the northern suburbs and the distributor's in downtown Atlanta, they send a truck up to the suburbs, pick that beer up. I believe sometimes they have to take it back, log it into the warehouse, and then they truck it back up to that restaurant across the street. So breweries want the right to just say, I think they said something like within their county or a certain mile radius to do self-distribution. So, but we have both the distributor lobby and religious interest here that lobby against these things. You know, there was someone said that would make alcohol more readily available, would contribute to more alcoholism. Of course, that argument makes no sense at all. It's no difference in the amount of beer that's available there. And, you know, the buying from the brewery versus buying from a grocery store or liquor store or whatever. But the short of it is the bill beer died. They didn't move it forward for a vote. So we'll go back at it again this year. We've got a lot of our brewers fight really hard. I want to give a shout out to Thomas Monty at Schoolhouse Brewing. He's the front line of the grassroots effort from the brewers. You know, he is engaging with people on Reddit, people on Facebook, getting the word out there. Other brewers as well. Thomas just happened to be the one that I saw the most about, the most news from this year, and he really gave some deep dives, letting people know, hey, this is what's going on. And if you're in a state and you've ever followed beer laws, distribution laws, brewery rights, and all that, it's hard to win victories. They're very, very tough to win. You know, we had a couple small ones in like 07, 08, or 06 and 08, something like that, I think is when they passed that, you know, that allowed for the limited distribution that we can do there, that allowed for our breweries to be able to sell food, because before that they couldn't do that. So it did, it increased our brewery count here in Georgia. You know, we had a nice little boom after that. And it's just unfortunate the fight that they've got to take with that. But that's enough on our personal issues. But I'm sure your state has similar fights there. So if you're not involved, take a look, see what's going on, give them support, spread the word, and call your lawmakers. Let them know how you feel there. So yeah, absolutely. Well, with that said, Brian, something a little bigger than just our local ones. The CHEERS Act is back, and that is a bipartisan bill known as the Creating Hospitality Economic Enhancement for Restaurants and Servers, and it's back.
It is back. It's been reintroduced. I think this might be the third time, but reintroduced to the U.S. House of Representatives on February 20th. The bill aims to help bars, restaurants, and entertainment venues invest in energy-efficient, sustainable draft systems. The help comes in the form of allowing them to depreciate the equipment over 15 years, lowering their tax income over the space of 15 years, and thus giving them an incentive to actually invest in these better tap systems, which are more energy efficient. The Brewers Association notes that the high cost of maintaining and upgrading energy-efficient lines remains a barrier to many small businesses. They're not going to shell out extra money to be environmentally conscious if they're just barely scraping by. The bill is a little different this time around, not in like significant ways, but this version of the bill targets a different section of the IRS code because the section it targeted previously is expiring due to another bill being signed. I think it was the big, beautiful omnibus whatever bill that happened in 2025. But I did a little Googling about what makes a draft system efficient and sustainable because I was curious. And I guess it comes down to a few things, best I can tell. Thermal efficiency and insulation. So you basically want to limit the unnecessary use of power for refrigeration as much as possible, like not having your fans running all the time, not leaking a lot of cool air. So that alone helps a lot. And I think there's glycol systems that are more efficient than, like using fans and other things like that. There's more efficient gas management, everything from like generators to produce your own gas, which you would use to there's systems in place you can put in place to prevent overcarbonation in the beers that you pour. So the people pouring your beers don't dump them because they're just all carbonation. You don't want that. You're losing a lot. It's wasteful. And then there's the more efficient tap lines that lead to less beer being lost during cleaning. Both they're the shorter lines, and they're actually narrower too in some cases. And I read something about, apparently there's some cutting edge technology that allows you to do some kind of an ultrasound process to help keep the lines clean. That doesn't involve you emptying them. You still have to clean your lines occasionally, just not as often. So there's a whole range of things you can do to make your draft system better. There's a lot of options out there, and if this passes, you can have some incentives like some tax breaks to actually put in a better system and do a better job with your beer. So hope it passes this time. I think this is like the third
Sounds
time.
good.
Maybe it's the charm.
Yeah. That's refrigeration is extremely energy inefficient. Whether
Yes.
that's a refrigerator, whether it's an air conditioner, or what have you, just a super energy inefficient process. That's I think a lot of people know I'm a recruiter in my day job. I do recruit for telecom, and one example there is the cell sites. At the base of a cell site, there's an enclosure there that they use, and of course that enclosure is filled with basically computers and electronic equipment, which generates a lot of heat. It has to be kept cool to keep running. So, some of the energy efficient projects they've done there is like putting a hole or cutting a hole in the side of the enclosure and it's essentially like a special exhaust fan in there to pull the heat out. I don't think it's just like a fan. I think there's more to it than that. But, the amount of that you can save when you think about all the cell sites across the whole country, the amount of energy you save there, it really does add up. Just like this, we're talking about, when you start talking about all the bars or a number of bars and restaurants across the country doing stuff more energy efficient, it definitely adds up. So, sounds like a pretty good initiative to me as someone who doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. It was noted in the article that there are people that are like businesses that are dropping tap systems because they don't think they're not what they're cracked up to be. But we actually have a story that might change their mind about that coming up.
Okay, we'll see what happens then. Well, Brian, moving along, more beer status, sales reports. We love talking about the data on beer sales. And this one's coming from Bank of America, and they are saying that alcohol sales at bars are up, but drinking at home is down. And this seems like something that's kind of flip-flopped over the last few years, like where people are doing their drinking. Are they going out or are they staying home? So right now, Bank of America says they're going out to the bar.
Yeah, we had the pandemic in the past where you couldn't go out to the bar, so people were loading up and taking it home. So necessarily there would be a change here. But, it seems that the rumors of the death of the bar, which we heard about right after the pandemic, they have been greatly exaggerated. According to the report from Bank of America, credit card data shows that alcohol sales are on the rise at bars. Sales are up 4% since the beginning of 2025. But at the same time, retail purchases of alcohol continue to fall because people are, drinking less at home. And there's a lot said about this. I don't know if you can prove it, but there's a social aspect here that plays into it, and that they say that's the driving factor. I didn't see that laid out provably in the article, but I think that's probably part of it. Anyway, sales have been dropping for retail, stuff you would buy and take home, by roughly 5% since 2024. And this is all happening despite drinks at bars being significantly more expensive than your at-home options, which is crazy considering we've also had inflation issues going on. So things are really going up in price. But contrary to the reputation of being teetotalers, Gen Z and younger millennials are just more moderate in their consumption of alcoholic beverages compared to older generations. At least that's what they're finding. They're still buying it, just not as much. But speaking of older generations, the number of frequent drinkers is on the rise for people 50 and older, and it's even going up significantly for people 65 and older. For that last group, 65 and older, they're saying 2.8 million in that group started drinking regularly over the last decade. They went from not drinking regularly to drinking regularly. So something's got the senior citizens get hit in the booze. And a very noteworthy recent example of growth in sales at bars happened on Valentine's Day, according to NIQ, which also does stats. This is not Bank of America here. Apparently, the number of people heading to bars and restaurants to celebrate Valentine's Day was up 24% compared to last year. And that's not just people going out to dinner. Neighborhood bars and sports bars were both up around 20% compared to last year at this time. So people are heading to the bar, man. They are getting their drink on.
They are. We did, Brian. We went out for Valentine's Day.
We did.
So we had some extra. So, yeah.
Yes.
So, kind of interesting story being brief, but Brian's wife had to work. So they did something pre-Valentine's Day. So we hung out on Valentine's Day. And I don't think at the time either of us realized it was Valentine's Day. So we just walk into this Mexican restaurant. We're like, hey, 2 people. And they're like, do you have a reservation, sir? I'm like, for tacos? Do we need a reservation? And I think it was like 15 minutes later, it struck us. Oh, this is Valentine's. It wasn't nice. It wasn't an upscale Mexican restaurant. So
I think they had a lot of balloons too. Like there was a lot of hearts around.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
It didn't click with us. So we went to another joint and had some nice tacos. It was a little less date nighty kind of taco joint there. So,
yeah.
but yeah, the AZ Cougars football. He's like, is that more trend of social drinking? And Brian, I think you mentioned that. It does sound like people are becoming more social now. You know,
I think that was part of it.
Going back out some, and that's good. I think we still continue to heal from the plague. You know, so people getting back into some normalcy. Hopefully, it'll get back around, man. Because you know, pre-COVID, it was good times, man. I mean, it was it was extremely social. You know, everybody was out all the time. So hopefully, that is an indication of people going out and being a little more social. Because I think, especially now, we probably all need it. Man, you know, go out, hang out, have a drink, have a taco, you know, whatever suits your fancy.
Yeah, and I keep reading about how Gen Z especially is more experiential and like the importance of like the overall experience, not just going there to drink, but like you know, the people and everything else going on with it. So yeah, I think it makes sense as playing in. I don't know that these numbers necessarily prove anything to that effect, but I think the social aspect of it is important, and I think people are missing it, and people are like, hey, you know, like I know the drinks are more expensive, but I want to hang out with some friends while I'm doing it, so I'm going there.
You know, I wish there was more consistency on it because, like we talked about, man, it's kind of back and forth. They'll say it's down, they'll say it's up, this and that. But, you know, we heard it was up some for Super Bowl, you know. So, you know, seeing some trends here. So maybe we trickle up a little bit. Maybe we're headed in the right direction here. So hopefully, man, get out there and drink. Brian, more good news, man. We're just full of good stories this week.
Fonts of good news this week.
It's up. Things are up. People are buying. Cheers Act is back, but in this one, a very fine brewery, Lawson's Finest, they actually grew in 2025. Something a lot of breweries aren't doing, but they had 15% growth in 2025.
Yeah, despite all the challenges facing craft beer and how we keep hearing about, you know, people, the distributors or whatever, like they're buying less of craft beer, man. Lawson's ended 2025 with a 15.8% increase in sales at grocery stores, driven largely by their SIP series. That includes like a Sip of Sunshine IPA, which a lot of people have heard of. I know that was one I was always excited to see at bottle shares because it's a little hard to get down here. It's still hard to get down here, honestly. But Little Sip also is part of that. The brewery is currently the top-performing craft brand in the Northeast's fast-moving consumer goods sector, again, according to NIQ, which I mentioned them before. Despite expanding all the way down to southern markets like Virginia, it's weird to think of Virginia as southern, but, you know, we're really far south, and North Carolina, the brewery maintains a strict cold-only requirement for its beer. And this is very interesting. They require cold storage, cold shipment, and cold shelving. And I have a lot of respect for this, and I wish more breweries, you know, had this requirement. And I think it's why they're doing so well. They're insisting their beer be maintained cold the entire way. And I know for a fact that some of these distributors are doing terrible things with craft beer, and they never have been doing great things with them. I'm not naming any names. I just know some have been. But while we don't know the specific production numbers, Lawson's volume now places them amongst the top 50 independent craft brewers in the U.S. So I think this is a jump for them. I don't think they were ever in the top 50 before. And not only that, to capitalize on the stovepipe or the 19.2-ounce single-serve trend, hashtag Long Beer Friday, baby, Lawson's is launching has launched a high ABV Imperial IPA called Epic Sip Imperial IPA, and they did that back in October, which I would totally be all over if it were down here. But And on top of all this, they have also improved their B Corp score, which is a certification that assesses and verifies a company's social, environmental, and governance impact against the B Lab standards, the people who evaluate it. So they got a whole list of standards. So they've actually upped their score, and they're selling more, and they're kind of killing it right now. So Lawson's Finest is, I don't know. You got to watch
for them,
these guys.
man.
Yeah,
That's what, when we talked to them, they were talking about, and speaking of energy efficiency, Brian, something we talked about earlier there, they have a solar bank on top of their brewery there. It's actually the largest solar canopy in the state of Vermont. So they said that I believe it's 90%. They offset 90% of their power through their solar canopy there. They also manage their water and their wastewater. So they're very green, very eco-conscious there. So, it's pretty cool, making good beer, seeing growth, being ecologically conscious there. It's all good stuff, man. You can't argue with that.
I want to say their B Corp score, I don't remember what it was like 91.8 or something like that. Like,
yeah.
It's in the 90th percentile, which I think is difficult with all the things you'd have to do. So, yeah. They may be the top on that too. I didn't look into that.
Am I remembering correctly that at one time BrewDog was B Corp, but they lost it?
They were.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, they were, and they lost that.
Yeah.
They did a number of things. They also did the whole, we're paying everybody a living wage, until at a certain point they we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
They were hemorrhaging money. So
it takes you how much to live?
They're like, oh, man. Wait, we didn't realize the living wage was that much. I'm like, have you looked around? Have you looked at the price of your beer and also looked around? Because everything's really expensive these days. So
we had no idea the peasants needed that much to live.
Yes, crazy. Silly peasants.
Yes. Well, Brian, moving right along, another drinking holiday is coming up. Those are always fun, but St. Patrick's Day is coming up. And this year, the Guinness Storehouse is just going to have a blowout of a party, a multi-day party at the Guinness Storehouse.
Yeah, all out. The Guinness Storehouse in Dublin is extending St. Patrick's Day, and they've never done it like this before. I checked. They're making it into an 8-day festival. It will run from Wednesday, March 11th to Wednesday, March 18th. The event sounds massive from everything I've read. It's the 7 floors of the Guinness Storehouse will be buzzing with over 100 acts and entertainment as part of a ticketed experience when you go there, and there will be no shortage of traditional Irish music, like every floor all over the place. I don't even know, these bands are going to be playing over top of each other. I don't know how that's even possible, but they're also going to have a special immersive area on the 4th floor dedicated to teaching visitors to speak basic phrases in Gaelic, which I guess it's like Gaelic, but it's the Irish version of it. So
okay, all right.
So they're actually going to have real classes where people learn how to be not controversial, but conversational. That's the word for it. Okay. Maybe controversial.
Maybe
I don't know. Maybe they'll fight. I don't know. There will also be a quote electrifying top secret gig that's being announced in the coming days, but I think this got leaked out already. The secret gig is they're going to have a Welsh DJ duo named Overmono. I've never heard of them, but apparently this is a big deal because Guinness typically favors traditional Irish music in its celebrations, but they also get it. There are a lot of young G splitters out there, and they need to entertain them too. So they need to, the folks splitting the G, they want some DJ'd music, so they're going to get that too. So, yeah, but not to bury the lead, there will also be a limited edition oyster stout pouring at the Open Gate Brewery, and this is made with actual oysters. There will be no funny business, no fakes on there. So I don't know if they've ever done anything like that, but they've been around for a long time, so maybe they have. But yeah,
good stuff,
throw
man.
All out this year. It's crazy.
Sounds like a good time. Yeah. I think this is a good time, Brian, to throw some news of our own, our Guinness-related news to our own out there. On our show, our next episode, will be our St. Patrick's Day episode. We are going to be speaking with Colm O'Connor, who is from the Guinness Storehouse Brewery. He's a Guinness ambassador, and he's going to be in the States. They'll actually be in New York City, so he will be joining us virtually on that. But we'll talk about some different things, maybe get some Guinness recipes. We'll talk a little bit more about the celebrations that they're having there, history of Guinness, anything. So, you know what? If you guys want to know anything about Guinness, drop us a message. Let us know. We'll try and work it into that. And related to that, to fit his schedule, our live stream will actually be on Thursday next week. That is going to be Thursday, March 12th, same time, 7 o'clock, but we've got to move it a day to accommodate his schedule. But we thought it was worth it. That'll be a really good show. So St. Patrick's Day is always a good time, and Guinness is one of the macro beers we allow.
That's right.
We deal with it, man.
I know that people have had issues with them as being a macro. I've always loved Guinness. I've never not liked Guinness, to be honest.
I think they're ones that, you know what? All right, talk about our perfume addiction as well, Brian. They have what they call designer brands versus niche brands, and there's a few designers that get accepted by the niche nerds. So, I think it's like that here as well. Yeah.
Are you saying they're Tom Ford? Is that what's happening here?
No, Tim? Louis Vuitton is where I'm going to throw out
Louis Vuitton. Okay, but Guinness is Louis Vuitton. There
kind of an interesting thing to say, though. Can you think of any other beers that fall into that at the level that Guinness does?
No, nothing comes to mind. Not quite like that.
Yeah, I think Guinness kind of stands alone on that, a good bit. So interesting. Good for them, man. Guinness is just classic beer, man. Classic beer.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm always going to have a Guinness, especially this time of year. Yeah.
Lovely day for a Guinness, Brian.
Indeed.
That's what they tell us. We all thanks so much for joining us, hanging out. That about wraps it up for this episode. As always, if you enjoy what we're doing here, we would absolutely love it if you would tell a friend to listen to the show, share a tweet with a link to the episode, post it on Facebook, tattoo it on your forehead. Any of those is fine. If you need a QR code for the tattoo, hit us up. We'll get you one. We'll take care of that. If you really dig us, please go to patreon.com/beerguys. We would absolutely love your support, and we will get you some swag out. We'll get you into our Discord chat, where we talk about all kinds of stuff, and you get invitations to the after party after each week's live stream. But with all that said, we hope that you have a really, really good week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Clear. So I'm not sure what AZ Cougars football what prompted, but I see someone. It looks like he's taking a shot at my polo collecting here. So he said, "Then there's
polo. Oh,
then there's polo." So is that related to the designer? Designer niche thing there. So
somebody knows about your polo collection.
Yeah. So we know where polo stands, man. At the top.
I'm never gonna hate on Polo Green. I'm a big fan. So,
it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. There we go.
It's confirmed. Yeah, he's taking a shot at you.
Yes, I am taking a shot at your polo. Haters are gonna hate, man. That's
Tim
a proven
does have
fact.
one of the most impressive polo collections you have ever anybody has ever seen, to be honest. So
I own them all. And that's people hear that and
32-ounce polo even knows about the 32-ounce polo.
He does. Yes. Yeah. I do have a 32-ounce polo bottle, which don't say I have one wrapped in leather, which as far as I know, I've only seen 2 of those anywhere. I'm sure there's more than 2 out there, but 2 known to exist. I have the 50th anniversary that has a little black leather bondage jacket on that's super sexy.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, I got some rare stuff. I'm a bit obsessed there. Yeah,
I did get the bottle of Modern Reserve, Tim.
Good. Yes. See, great one, man. Great. That is good stuff. But yeah, we won't bore our beer fans here with more fragrance talk. But y'all, we appreciate you hanging with us. Again, if you join us for the live stream next week, it's going to be on Thursday. But we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Colm O'Connor there from the Guinness Brewery, and it should be a good time. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next week.